Gigantic monsters are getting a little bit scarce as of late. There are quite a few of them compared to last year and the year before that, regarding movies. These creatures are sometimes the only things that carries a movie forward despite the lack of a good story, a challenge that Hollywood as of late has been struggling with quite a lot, making good stories. Movies like Jurassic World and Fantastic for First Steps would have bombed quite a lot if it weren't for the gigantic creatures in them, which includes Galactus for Fantastic Four First Steps and the dinosaurs for Jurassic World Rebirth. Anyway, be what it may be, we still have quite a few creatures this year, and a couple more will be seen in the coming weeks, so let's get to them. So at the bottom we have the Primitive War movie, and the dinosaurs there are pretty huge. Well, some of them. The Primitive War was one of the best dinosaur horror flicks to come out in recent years, and yes, in a way it was better than Jurassic World Rebirth except for the final part, which became kinda ridiculous. It follows a squad of soldiers in 1968 Vietnam investigating and trying to rescue another squad that got lost in a place called Vulture Valley. However, instead of the North Vietnamese soldiers, the Viet Cong, they come across dinosaurs displaced across time. And not just one of them, but an entire ecosystem, a food chain. The biggest creatures, the dinosaurs there, are the T-Rex, the Spinosaurus, and of course a sauropod, the Apatosaurus or the Brontosaurus. They were around the same size as the ones in the fossil records, if not a little bit bigger. Now the next movie is Jurassic World Rebirth. See, Jurassic World Rebirth is yet another Jurassic movie destined to never reach the levels of the first one. This was a standalone sequel to Dominion, until they will decide that they need another one. And boy, were there a lot of disbelief that we had to cast away in order to enjoy the film. Here, the last of the world's de-extinct dinosaurs live in a single island off the coast of South America, an island which they say is the first island where the dinosaurs were created. But anyway, moving on, this island provides the last viable climate for the dinosaurs to survive and exist, and the team travels there with the goal of extracting samples that are vital for a heart disease treatment. All the other dinosaurs from the previous movies have died off, which means the plots of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion are just of no use. But we did get a lot of gigantic dinosaurs and mutant hybrids in here. The biggest is of course the new Mosasaurus, which is around 131 feet long or 40 meters. Then the D-Rex, a mutant hybrid of the T-Rex, which is 47 feet long and 26 feet tall. We also get a new T-Rex and a new pack of Spinosaurus in the mix. Oh, and before I forget, there was a Titanosaurus herd there too. And if I'm not mistaken, they said that the Titanosaurus was 11 tons, which would make them 8 times lesser than the estimates of real-world versions. Now on the 8th spot, we come to the Predator movies Creatures. Here we have 2 movies, Predator Killer of Killers and Predator Badlands. And these are 2 Yautja movies that were launched this year. The first one is an animated anthology that is connected in the end, while Badlands is seeing the Yautja as a protagonist. Predator Killer of Killers gave us a gigantic creature called a backbiter, which was roughly the size of a large T-Rex, while Predator Badlands gave us many animals of a death planet called Genna, the biggest of which are the lunar bug, which was around 10 meters tall. Then we also have the Callus, which is around 20 meters or 65 feet long as an adult, and one gigantic worm that was barely seen but was around the size of a blue whale, clinging on to a cliff face. Okay, up next, Home Sweet Home Rebirth. This movie is a 2025 supernatural horror film based on a 2017 Thai video game called Home Sweet Home. While much of the film focuses on spirits, possessions, and demonic forces and destiny, we also get a massive hellborn creature that manifests as the gates weaken. This giant monster is shown as a towering, twisted demonic entity formed from the tormented souls trapped in the hindrance, which is essentially a writhing mass of bodies with a skull-like head, which has also huge limbs and a distorted humanoid frame. It represents the physical herald of hell's emergence into the human world. The creature here was clearly more than 100 feet tall, as it towers above a 12-story building in one of the scenes. And then what do you know? Norway gave us the sequel to Troll, Troll 2. So this follows Nora Tideman as she pulled back into the world of Norway's ancient giants when a massive hibernating troll codenamed Jotun awakens beneath a secret government facility and escapes, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. Nora discovers that the Jotun is connected to the Troll King from the previous movie, and that Norway's history of troll hunting was far darker than she ever knew. Teaming up with scientists and soldiers, she tries to prevent a catastrophe by using a young troll that she discovered to communicate with the Jotun, only to discover that there is a tragic feud between them, a blood feud. These trolls were roughly the same height. One was called the Mega Troll and the other was called Beautiful. They were no more than 45 meters or 100 feet tall, but way more than 100 feet, which makes their sizes somewhere in between. Well, as of the recording of this video, 2 movies haven't come out yet. One is Avatar 3 and the other is Anaconda. Anyway, Avatar 3 follows part 2 almost a year after Jake and his family settled with the Metkayina clan. They encounter a new aggressive Na'vi tribe, the Manquan clan, which are also called the Ash people, which is led by the fiery tribe leader called Varang, who has allied herself with Miles Quaritch. And here we would see the conflict on Pandora escalate to a new level with devastating consequences. But politics aside, the biggest creatures of this movie is the main topic that we're discussing, and of course it's still a Tulkun, which is roughly 300 feet long. And then there's also the return of the Toruk, the great Leonopteryx, which is one of the biggest flying creatures of Pandora. And then we might also see the Akulas or the Nalutsas, you know, those shark-like things that were attacking the Na'vi in the water. Then up a notch we have the Kaiju from Superman. The Superman movie of this year gave us one gigantic kaiju, which was unleashed in Metropolis by Lex Luthor. He released it to the city to distract Superman while he broke into the Fortress of Solitude. The creature wasn't naturally evil, as its species wasn't aggressive at all, but Luthor trained it to attack and be fearsome. As it rampaged through Metropolis, it acted more like a scared wild animal, and even more like a child than a villain, causing destruction because of its enormous size, not because it wanted to hurt people. The kaiju grew extremely fast. It started out as a small creature around the size of a small dog, but when it touches water, it just grew, and within hours, it grew to a size of 319 feet, which is 97.2 meters. We also have a notable mention before we go to the top 3. This is the gigantic anaconda that will be seen in the comedy remake of the iconic 1997 Anaconda movie. And here it stars Jack Black going into the jungle to reshoot the movie with a pet snake, but after the snake was decapitated, he and his crew had to find a wild one. And a wild one they got, a gigantic anaconda around the size of a titanoboa, which means easily over 50 feet long or 15.2 meters. But it also might be way bigger, because we haven't seen the movie yet. On the third spot we have Galactus from Fantastic Four. Here in this movie, Sue Storm, one of the Fantastic Four, becomes pregnant and the world is excited. But everything changes when a cosmic being called the Silver Surfer arrives to warn that Galactus, a gigantic planet-eating entity, is coming to destroy Earth. Galactus, however, discovers the baby and now wants Sue and Reed's unborn child to replace him in his role as the World Devourer, and so they had to fight off a literal cosmic entity and save the planet as well as their child. Galactus in this movie was seen to change size time after time when he reaches Manhattan, and according to our estimations, his biggest size seen in the city was around 900 feet tall or 274 meters roughly, and his smallest was around 100 feet or more or less. So on the second spot we have the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake, which followed almost the exact same story, exact scenes and character arcs as the 2010 animated film. The plot still focuses on Hiccup, a young Viking who befriends an injured Night Fury dragon, Toothless, and proves to his village that humans and dragons can live in peace. The biggest difference is simply visual style. Instead of stylized animation, the remake used real actors with CGI dragons, giving everything a more realistic look, but not changing the narrative or the emotional beats. And so the biggest dragons here were obviously the hideous Zippleback, the monstrous Nightmare, and the massive Titan-scale Red Death, which seemed to be way bigger than the animated version, probably twice or 3 times bigger and taller, and it was listed as 999 feet or 304.5 meters long, officially, with a wingspan of 320 feet or nearly 100 meters wide. But the biggest movie monster this year is the Kraken, which comes from the movie of the same name, which is unseen by most cause is a Russian sci-fi monster flick about a deep-sea rescue mission that turns into a fight for survival against a colossal underwater monster. Here, when a submarine containing a Russian secret weapon mysteriously disappears in the Greenland Sea after its crew reports that the seabed was rising, the Russian Navy sends yet another nuclear submarine to investigate. But unbeknownst to them, geological research in the area had awakened the Kraken, an ancient sea beast responsible for sinking the first submarine. And this Kraken here resembles a gigantic massive octopus the size of a mountain. The Kraken absolutely dwarfs the nuclear submarine, which is around 170 meters long at the very least. The Kraken here is maybe 3 times as long, more than 500 meters at the least estimate, and a lot more when we talk about the tentacle leg span. And so it gets the top spot, and hopefully we get at least a pirated link for the movie. But anyway, with that we end this video. Now do hit the like button for support, and for the ones who see the hype option, well, if you want to support us, you can click the hype option to hype up the video to other viewers. Also subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, fam.